Hey guys, it's Adam here, and it's time for another Game of the Year list. Well, my Game of the Year at least, anyway. Games of the Year. This time, 2016 edition. Last year's list was stressful when I was putting it together because I put it together on the fly on the video. This year, I'm a little bit more calculated as to what games I think, or game I should say, is going to be my best game of this year. But this year's a weird one. It was odd for me personally because I sort of felt like I didn't play as many games as I normally would, at least leading up to this video. My approach to video games and consumption of video games was a lot more relaxed. Like I was not trying to play as many games as I could for the year, like I normally would. I was allowing myself to like kind of almost savor the ones I really enjoyed a lot more. Without feeling like I needed to just rush off onto the next one. But then I started putting my list together, and there's like 16 games here, around about at least, that I felt strong enough to put onto the list. And there's a few here that I only sort of touched on as well. So it was better than I thought, which was really quite strange. But I'm going to go through, first thing I'm going to do is go through my shame list for the year, to games I didn't get to play, or didn't get to play enough of, maybe more so, to add it to the list. So the ones I didn't play at all, Super Hot, Inside, The Witness, Forza Horizon 3, which I'm pretty bummed about because I feel like that could possibly have made it onto probably the upper tier of this list for me. Last Guardian and Fire Emblem Fates, which is another one which I just didn't get around to playing. I was playing something else at the time, which will come up on my list later. So there's a couple of games there that I will probably get back to, I guess, in quieter stages of next year. But a couple that I played little bits of, but not enough to sort of, I guess, make it onto the list. Hyper Light Drifter, which was pretty cool what I did play of it. Just didn't play enough to sort of really have a good opinion of whether or not it should be on my list or not. Hitman, which is I only just bought it just recently. Once again, what I've played of it so far is pretty awesome. Let It Die, another quick one. Fury, and Firewatch, which I did play and finish. Just sort of, I would say that's probably my 11th best game of the year. It was really great, but there's others here that I liked a lot better. So, but before I go into my actual list, I just want to make a quick, I guess almost like an honorable mention to not so much a game, but a platform, which is VR. In particular, PSVR. I had a good, probably 3 or 4 nights of playing the PSVR at home in a controlled environment, all that, an uncontrolled environment, I should say. In the real world, we'll say. And I come away really, really impressed with that thing. I haven't rushed out to buy one just yet, but I'm now, it's in the back of my mind of like, do I really want to get one of these units? Because what it does, at the price point it does it at, is really quite special. I'm sure the Vive and the Oculus are better. But the thing is that the barrier to entry for me on those are price point. And the PSVR, the fact that I think it's like $500 or $600. I can't remember. I think it's probably $550 actually. But anyway, the fact that it's ready to go for everyone that's pretty much got a PS4 already, it's pretty awesome. And hopefully what that does is next year, when this list comes around, I'll be actually talking about VR games as being a part of my best games of the year. I only really played the experiences. So, I mean, one in particular, which was awesome, was the London Heist one. And I got to actually use that with the Move controller. So I was using my hands to point guns and reload and all that sort of stuff. And it was pretty impressive. I'll say that. So yeah, I just want to make a quick mention of that. It's hopefully the only way is up with that. Hopefully it just keeps getting better and better. But anyway, off that, onto my actual list now. Like last year, I'm pretty sure I did this last year. No particular order, the bottom 5. I'm just going to kind of go through them as I've got them written down. So I'm going to start with the elephant in the room, No Man's Sky. It's not in my top 5, but it's nowhere near as bad as I think everyone else made it out to be as well. My opinion on that going in was I was ready to play it, but I wasn't like, I didn't have the fervor that everyone else had. I wasn't like, oh my goodness, this game's going to be the best. So my expectation was pretty reasonable, we'll say. And look, I played it probably for a good, I'll say a week, week and a half to 2 weeks, we'll say, every night. And I really did enjoy my time with it. I didn't really have much in the way of complaints. I know that it's not perfect, but what I played of it, I really did enjoy, and nothing, maybe some of the menu systems are a bit clunky and all that sort of stuff, but what game, I played Dark Souls for F's sake, like, it's not really that's really not gonna disturb the game for me. Like, the game itself is solid, the idea is solid, and they've added that update, which I haven't played anything on the update just yet, but look, it's by far, nowhere near as bad as what everyone says it is, but it's also not as good as the people thought it was going to be. So, but it definitely deserves to be on my list, at least at the very end of the list. No Man's Sky, it's on my system. It's not going anywhere. I'm probably going to dip in and out of it over the next sort of 12 months or so if they keep doing these updates, but who knows? We'll see what happens there. Now, the next game on my list is Tricky Towers, which was a PS Plus free game. I was actually pretty excited about this game. I think I was going to buy it anyway. Physics-based Tetris, competitive Tetris, I guess you can say. But yeah, based on the physics. So yeah, you drop blocks and they're not affected by where they're placed. They're not concreted in like they would be in something like Tetris. A slight if it's outweighed on one side, it will start to sway and things like that, and pieces will fall off. Really, really fun. I only really ever played the one mode, which is the race mode. That to me was the most fun. But playing that competitively online was really cool, and I still jump in and out of that now. Like, it's just a nice, quick, easy. I guess it's puzzly in a way, but I really enjoyed that one. That one was great. So not much else to say about that one. Tricky Towers. It's well worth mentioning. Next one is it's a strange one. I'm a bit conflicted about this one, but the next one is Pokemon Go. I don't have that installed on my phone anymore. Not because I wasn't one of these people that was super addicted to it or anything like that, but just because, I don't know, I sort of had my time with it, and it got to the point where it did become a little bit of a nuisance as opposed to it being a fun game. Like, had feeling the need to pull my phone out and have it drain my battery and all that sort of stuff. Being that it uses so much location data. I just got to the point where I was like, I've had my time with it. It's been fun. But I was sort of finished with it, It was a pretty interesting phenomenon. It was, something that everyone was playing, video gamers and non-video gamers alike. And you've been able to talk to people about what they've caught or where they've caught it and all that sort of thing. I did have a really good time with it. I may install it again at some stage. We live in a pretty quiet regional kind of area, so there's not as many cool places to go and try and find these Pokemon, and Pokestops are few and far in between sometimes. So when I go to places like some of the major cities here in Australia, I will be more likely to maybe install it and do some more catching. But it was cool. It was really good. Definitely took up some time there at one point, but well worth mentioning for the list. Let's say that. Next on my list was Trackmania Turbo. I never played any of the other Trackmanias. I wasn't a Trackmania kid, but when I found out that it was basically trials with cars, I was absolutely 100% sold. I couldn't actually believe I'd never played it before. Like, Trials is a game that I played an unhealthy amount of. I'm happy to say that. I'm okay to say that. I became slightly obsessed at one point. It was really one of those games for me. And Trackmania Turbo didn't quite hit that for me, but I did get the same feeling from that game of wanting to beat times and wanting to do wanting to get the gold and all that sort of thing. That was really cool. And once again, it's on my system. It's on my PS4. So it's one that I dip in and out of quite a bit, and really still quite enjoy. Even I think I bought it maybe mid-year, I can't remember, but anyway, really awesome, really, really great game. Looks fantastic. Like, I love the colorful look to it. Like, it's super bright and really cool. Pretty good soundtrack too, actually, come to think of it. So Trackmania Turbo, absolutely fantastic. Well worth mentioning as well. The last one in my bottom 5, which is an interesting one because I feel like it could have been possibly higher. the only reason it's not higher, I think, is because of the fact that I never really finished the game, and I don't own it anymore either. So with that's my criteria, I guess. Part of the reasons why it's not in the list. It's it's full of holes, but yeah, I'm gonna stick to it. So that game is Tom Clancy's The Division. So when that game came out, there was a good probably 4 or 5 of us. I can't remember how many. Might be more. It was probably a few more that were playing that game pretty flat out. Like I'm talking like every single night for a good maybe 3-4 weeks. And the time I had with that was really, really great. Like it was quite memorable. The single player was okay. Like it was a good canvas for an awesome co-op experience. I think I can say. But the thing that stood out to me, and it still stands out to me now, was the Dark Zone mode. Oh, yeah, Dark Zone, I think that was called. Going in there co-op and PvP, gaining rare items and all that sort of thing. I haven't really felt that kind of tension in a multiplayer game. I don't think ever really, because it's not that standard deathmatch. The loot you're gaining in that area. It rides on how well you can get out of there and actually, drop zone it out of there. So if you pick up some rare stuff and then you get killed and it drops and you don't get a chance to go back and get it, it's gone. Someone else has got that. They stole that. So the tension in that mode was really memorable. I often think about going back and getting that game and playing it again. It's got that kind of Destiny vibe for me, like as playing co-op with friends and all that sort of thing. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes. If it's one of those games that goes super cheap, I probably will do it. But that's a better game than I think everyone gives it credit for. And myself included. So that was definitely well worth putting on the list. Could have easily been in my top 5 this year. There are games I like better. But Tom Clancy's The Division. I still think of it from time to time. And that's my bottom 5. So that's no particular order. Maybe No Man's Sky was a 10, but that's my bottom 5. All really good games. Could be anyone's top 5, really. Like, a cool list of games. Now into the nitty gritty, right into the business end, the top 5. And, oh no, it's not. It's a 6. It's the top 6. Probably should have counted. I have a top 6. So it's my top 11 games of the year. Wow. Okay. Probably should have counted that before I started doing the video. But anyway, all right, cool. And I'm not willing to kick any of those games out. Yeah, no, that's staying. Okay. You get a bonus. How's that? Good stuff. I'm going to start from... All right, I think this might be my bottom of the 6. I'm going to say this definitely. So Kirby Planet Robobot is on my number 6 spot. Kirby in a mech suit. What can I say? It was something that I'd never seen done in a Kirby game, obviously. The coolest part about this game, it had all the Kirby awesomeness of, getting, sucking up enemies and taking their powers and all that awesome stuff that he does. But the thing is, it took that and then put that same power into the mechs. So once Kirby gets into a robot, he can also steal the powers from the enemies and make the robot into that type of enemy, so a fire enemy or a cutting enemy and all that sort of thing. That was a fantastic addition to that game, and really did change it up a little bit from the regular formula of Kirby, especially the Triple Deluxe, which I really, really like that game. Still got it. That was probably my favorite of the, well, obviously the recent Kirby games, but it's one of my favorite Kirby games because it feels like those older ones without it being too much like it's trying to do something different. Because that mechanic of taking enemies' powers and all that sort of stuff, I find that really fun and interesting, and I like discovering the new powers and all that sort of thing. And Robobot did that again, but then it sort of expanded it into this sort of robot mech thing as well. And it was really great. I had a really good time with that game. It was pretty short. It wasn't an overly long game, which is good because it was on 3DS obviously, and playing the 3DS for a long period of time. Maybe it's me getting older. I'm not too sure, but I don't enjoy sitting there for hours on end playing that anymore as much as I used to. Hence, one of the reasons why, spoilers, Monster Hunter Generation X is not on my list. Yeah, so Robobot, Planet Robobot, definitely one of my favorites this year. I think it's been slightly edged out by my fifth favorite game of the year, which was Tharsis. And some of you may be listening and saying, "What? What's Tharsis?" Or if you do know it, going, "Really? Tharsis?" I feel like I need to maybe explain this a little bit. Tharsis is a dice rolling sort of push your luck style game on computer. I think it might have come out on PS4 as well. Actually, it has, yeah, because I thought about buying it again. But anyway, where you're in space and you're controlling 4 players in a ship that's basically it's sort of floating in space, and you're sort of trying to reach Mars, if I remember correctly. And slowly your ship's you're falling apart, being attacked by asteroids and things like that. And you're having to try and fix the ship and help your crew survive as you do this. And you do this by rolling dice and assigning your dice to different powers and different upgrades and fixes and all that sort of thing. And I played this a lot. When this came out, I got pretty addicted to it in a good way. And it's super hard. Oh man, this game was so hard, but I really enjoyed it. Like, this was an early of the year game too, and I still managed to remember it even now to add it to the list. It was really good. I really quite enjoyed it. I mean, I've been pretty heavily into board games this year, and maybe that had a bit of a part to do with it. It felt like a little bit like a board game given the dice rolling, but it was just a really cool game, and it was pretty quick as well. It wasn't like a game you sat there for an hour, 2 hours and play. I did, but you could easily play one game, for 15, 20 minutes, depending how bad you were, which I was pretty bad. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed Tharsis. That's one of my favorites for the year. And like I said, it's a testament to it that I played it such a long time ago in the year, but I remember it enough to put it in not only in my list but in my top 5. So that's Tharsis. I'm up to a game that I can't believe I'm saying is in this position. Dark Souls 3. Ha! No, Dark Souls 3 is in number 4. This was a very, 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 very good Dark Souls game. This is probably my second favorite Souls game. Well, yeah, I don't know, actually, between this and Bloodborne. Bloodborne may actually just slightly edge it out. Dark Souls 1, either Bloodborne or Dark Souls 3. I might have to put the names in a hat and pull it out, but this was a really, really, really good Souls game. This was had enough of 1 in it and enough of Bloodborne, actually, to be honest, to make it a really enjoyable experience. The only reason it's probably not higher in my list and not my absolute second favorite Bloodborne Souls game is there's some boss battles in this that I didn't love. Like being a game that's meant to be super hard, obviously, there was just some boss battles that I thought were hard in a cheap way. Without going into too much detail, I've spoken about it before. Some of the multiple boss enemies where you'll have one boss and then all of a sudden you'll have more than one boss. I feel like they did that in a way that, and I mean, Souls games have had multiple boss enemies. The Three Kings in Dark Souls, is a good example, but it was done in a way that I feel like it was almost like they're running out of ideas in a way, and running out of ways to make it difficult, but in an interesting way. And that's my only gripe of it, really. Everything else about it is rock solid. It was, my time with it was, I really enjoyed it. And that's weird to say that for a Souls game, but I really did enjoy my time with that game. And it's always an achievement finishing a Souls game. You always get that sense of yes. And each boss still had that same, shaky hand, adrenaline rush. So, it definitely encapsulated the Souls experience in a way that sort of took a little bit from all the best parts of all the other games. So yeah, definitely a memorable experience for the year, but not in my top 3. Can you believe it? Now, the reason I'm making such a big deal about that as well is the rest of the games on my list, my final 3 games are all shooters. Actually, they're all first-person shooters, which is interesting because I haven't really enjoyed or really played that much in the way of first-person shooters for a while. And then this year, I've got 3 in my top 3 games. So there's like a return to the first-person shooter for me this year, which is a really cool thing because I've kind of missed playing first-person shooters. Like I used to love playing them quite a bit, like the Modern Warfare series, like the 1 and 2, I really enjoyed, and games like that, Battlefield 3, and they've sort of just fallen by the wayside for me for the last couple of years. But this year they came back with a vengeance, and how? These are going to be in no particular order. I'm pretty sure I know which one's my favorite, but I do want to just talk about them a little bit and see if I can turn myself around a little bit, because there's one I feel like maybe deserves to be my best game, but there's one that in my heart is the best game. So for me, that is. So I'm going to start with the one I played, not the most recent. Actually, no, I'm going to start with the one I played most recent, and that's Doom. This year's version of Doom. That game took me by surprise in a way I didn't think it would take me. Only because so the story is I played the demo like months and months and months ago, just to kind of see what it was all about. And it didn't really stick with me. Like I sort of played and went, oh yeah, I can see what they're doing here. Like that's pretty cool. Oh, yeah, the soundtrack sounds all right and all that sort of thing. Geez, it's fast. Wow, it's fast. I think this is too fast for me. I don't think I can play this. But I can appreciate it, sort of thing. And then I left it. And then they released the soundtrack on Spotify, and I started listening to that. Just was like, oh, I'll check it out. And for one side note, I did a top 10 albums of the year on a local paper sort of thing. I do that nearly every year. And Doom, the soundtrack by Mick Gordon, got my second best album of the year because I've listened to that so much. Like I listened to that for hours, I'll say. And this is before I played the game. Like I listened to this soundtrack so much. It is so good. And then I think that got me thinking more and more about the game and thinking, well, maybe I need to give it another shot. The game itself is criminally underpriced at the moment. I picked it up for, I think like 20, 30 bucks. It's stupidly cheap for what kind of the game that it is. Now that I've played it and finished it, that is easily, I mean, I'm going to be surprised if that doesn't win Game of the Year for a lot of people, a lot of different people. That game is fantastic. The frantic nature of the way it plays, and I'm coming at this from a non-nostalgic and a completely unbiased point of view. I'm talking today's standards, not it's so good to play a Doom game again. I didn't have a computer that could play Doom. I didn't play Doom when I was younger. I didn't really play them on the consoles, the older consoles. So I don't have the same nostalgic draw that what a lot of other people have. I'm coming at this purely from 2016's point of view. And I really, really enjoyed that game. That game is pretty special. Multiplayer aside, I didn't play any multiplayer, but as far as like a complete single player package, it is really special. The sound on that game is some of the best sound I've experienced in any game since Dead Space. And that's saying a lot because Dead Space is still up there as far as like how amazing the sound design is in that game. When you kick into a big, massive wave of dudes and those riffs kick in and that music kicks in, oh my God, that is just a complete experience. Like the soundtrack is I would say nearly 80% of that game. But the way it plays into what you're doing is what makes it so special. The cues and the way that it runs, like, some of the glory kills, like the glory kills are, oh my God, so awesome. It makes me feel like I am a 16-year-old playing Doom, for the first time. Being able to come in and melee a dude, I stag an enemy, rip their head apart or pull, twist their head off, like things like that is just, it's all guilty pleasures for me. And the fact that it's backed by these amazingly heavy metal and industrial riffs and music in the background just sort of capitalizes that. And it's just a complete package. I don't know what else to say about that game. It was pretty amazing. But also the fact that I had a low expectation really did help it jump up as high as it is on this list for me. Doom the reboot. Would never have picked it. the next game I played, the next game closest to playing Doom was Titanfall 2. And this was a game I actually really did want to play. I was very excited to play this game. Like, it was on my to-do list. It came out. I can't remember actually when it came out, but Dark Souls 3 is a big reason why I didn't play a lot of these games until later in the year. Excuse me. Because I sort of wanted to finish that. Hence what I was saying at the start of the video, where I wanted to sort of savor a lot more games this year. And Titanfall 2 picked it up pretty cheap. Once again, Doom and Titanfall 2, two completely underrated games at ridiculously cheap prices, like insanely cheap prices. There's no reason why people should not be playing these two games, unless you're like me and you wanted to wait till you had time to play them. But anyway, I'm not going to tell you how to run your life. If you want to talk about complete packages of games, Titanfall 2, the single player, although probably about an hour shorter than I would have liked, was one of the best shooter experiences I've played, campaign-based experiences I've played since Modern Warfare 1 and 2. Everything from the mechanics of the pilot. The pilots are so much fun to run around in. The Titans are pretty cool, but the pilots are the flagship. They are the icing on the cake. The control scheme and the way it plays, and being able to wall run and sort of chain movements off wall runs into knee slides, popping off enemies and all that sort of stuff. It just makes you feel like an absolute god. Like it's really great. The storyline in Titanfall 2, like the fact they had no single player game in the original and they came back with the single player campaign they came back with in 2, they made up for it. They made up for all that stuff in the first game. It's a really great game. I'm really excited, super keen to see what they do in future with that game. Yeah, but like I said, it's a complete package. The multiplayer, I played it again last night with Frosty and Nathan, and it still has that. If I'm swearing uncontrollably at a game, multiplayer game, it must be pretty good if I'm still playing it. I'm not very good at that game, multiplayer, but I still play it and I still enjoy playing it because the pilot movement, everything like that carries into multiplayer. Like, you have that same wall run and slide and all those abilities and all that sort of thing, but it's got that Call of Duty Battlefield unlock kind of carrot dangle. It is a complete package, this game. And I don't know what more else I can say about it. It is apparently it's critically, it's been a hit, but like sales wise it hasn't. And I can't believe it. I feel like more people need to play this game. It is just very, very special. Yeah, that's all I can say about that one. And while we're talking about special things, I'm going to get to the last game on my list. Not my number one, my last game. Like I said, I thought I had it all worked out, but now that I'm talking about it, I'm not too sure. I got this probably mid-year, and Overwatch. Overwatch is the game I'm talking about. This is probably the game. I wouldn't say I'm the most surprised about it because I played the beta and enjoyed the beta, but then I played it to I enjoyed it not enough to go, all right, I'm buying it when it comes out. Once again, I got probably Dark Souls 3 to thank for that. And then, like everything that I do these days, it went cheap, so I bought it. And it was a nightly game for me at one point, like at least playing about a good 3 or 4 matches per night. Actually, I think the thing that really sold it on me was the free weekends they had. They had a couple of free weekends, and I jumped on those, and I think I played it all weekend, as in like, when I was able to play games. And I think that sold it on me. I was like, no, I have to get this game. I actually bought this. I bought No Man's Sky instead of Overwatch. I was tossing up between the two, which is really funny now to think about it. They are completely on opposite ends of the my game of the year spectrum. I definitely chose poorly that time of the year. So Overwatch, I don't think there's much that needs to really be said about that. It's Blizzard's first-person hero-based shooter. It's very cool. It's a very cool game. It looks like a Pixar movie. Like it's just got that kind of look to it. But it is just a very fun, very balanced. That's probably the biggest thing about this game. I am okay at Overwatch. And that says a lot because I'm not very good at online first-person shooters because it's got that Team Fortress Battlefield thing going on where if you're not good at killing dudes, then be better at healing dudes. Do that instead. Or if you want to be a tank and just, be Reinhardt and hold a shield up, look after everybody. Or be the badass that runs around and shoots everybody. Play to your strengths. Play to your strengths and play to your class. And once you find the class or classes that you really enjoy and excel at, that game becomes even better. Not just for you, but for everyone else playing, because the game the balance it's so even. It's so even. Obviously you're going to get people that are really good, but 9 times out of 10 you can hold your own, and it's amazing they've been able to keep it, not only just keep it balanced, but add more players, like free characters, and maintain that balance. Like it's a pretty amazing feat, and it's resulted in another absolutely fantastic game that I've really, really enjoyed this year, and another one that and all three of those games that I spoke about just then, I own them all still. Like they're not like even Doom. Like I'm not playing the multiplayer in that game, and I probably should have tried it for the purposes of Game of the Year, but I still own those games. I still have those games. They're in my collection, which is, that says a lot about shooters. Like usually, the multiplayer is not hitting, then it's out of here. I've played the single player and it's gone. I don't need it anymore. I'm not one of these people that likes to play games multiple times. I'm not even a big expansion guy really. But I'll get my experience from it, and then that's that. So, but in regards to Titanfall and Doom, I probably would play those single players again. Maybe we'll see how we go. But anyway, talking about Overwatch, and I think I'm done with that actually, to be honest. So that's my top 3, all first-person shooters. I honestly would not have picked that. I would have picked my game of the year. I would have picked to be Dark Souls 3 this year after I played it, because I enjoyed it that much that I just felt as though nothing was going to top it. And then along comes 3 first-person shooters that are actually higher on the list than it. It's just amazing. So that brings me to the end of the list. What was my game of the year, though? I don't know. I really don't know. I think if you look at on paper, Titanfall 2 should be my game of the year because it is a complete package. It's got an excellent single-player campaign. The multiplayer is brilliant as well. And I'm still playing it. Then again, Overwatch is a consistent slow burn, as in the best possible way. It just keeps going. Like I'll go and play it now and love it. And come to think of it, I don't swear that much in that game, but I still really enjoy it anyway. But it's interesting. So on paper, those 2 should be my game of the year, but I think I'm going to stick with my initial thought of what I thought it was going to be. And I'm going to say Doom is my favorite game this year. And I can't believe I'm saying that. I really honestly cannot believe I'm saying that. And I don't even feel too conflicted about it. I feel sort of bad for not putting Titanfall 2 on there, because I feel like Titanfall 2 is in the corner going, come on! My multiplayer. My single player. It was short, but it was good, And Overwatch is there going, whatever. Making that money. I don't care. But Doom did something that I didn't think it would do, which was win me over for starters. The fact that, I gave it a go. I tried it and it was okay. I was like, yeah, this is okay. But I think that honestly, I believe the thing that saved that game for me, as in like made me buy it and play it, was how good that soundtrack is. And I don't think that can be understated, because it really did. It kept it in the back of my mind thinking, well, maybe I should play it. Maybe I should play it. Maybe I should. And the way that soundtrack ties into that game and creates this atmosphere and this adrenaline pulsing, like heart thumping gore fest that made me feel like a teenager. Like I said, not for nostalgic reasons. I wasn't a Doom guy because I never had a PC, but it just made me feel like I was a kid playing something that was a bit naughty. You know what I mean? Like heavy metal soundtrack, lots of blood and gore, guns and hell and demons and all this sort of stuff. But it did it in a way that I really, it resonated with me. I One of the biggest things that I have with anything, whether it be video games, board games, anything, if I wake up in the morning thinking about it, there's something special there. And Doom did that to me. I didn't do that with a little bit with Overwatch, but I didn't do it with Titanfall. I didn't do it with Dark Souls. I did a little bit with Dark Souls 3, but that's just a given. But I woke up thinking about Doom and thinking about coming home at work, putting the kids to bed later at night, sitting down on the couch and playing more Doom. And that cannot be understated. And I fully believe it's because of that soundtrack. That soundtrack is the fusion between the gameplay and that soundtrack is, I've not had anything. I've not heard that in a game ever, I don't think. When I talked about sound design before, that was more Dead Space being atmosphere in a way of feeling fear and feeling stuff that's going to sneak up on you and all that sort of thing. With Doom, it empowered me. It made me feel unstoppable, and it made me feel like a wrecking ball. Felt like a force to be reckoned with. And even thinking about it now, it's just, I'm amazed that did what it did to me. So I have no problems at all awarding that as my game of the year. So, hey, big smile on my face. It must be a good decision because I don't feel bad at all. And that's it. That's my game of the year list. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't played Doom yet, go and play Doom. Frosty, I dare say it's going to be pretty high on his list too. I don't know if it'll be game of the year. But he'll probably tell you the same thing. Go play Doom. He told that to me. Go play Doom. And I should have listened, but hey, now I have. And I appreciate everyone sticking with us for the year too as well. The site's been a bit up and down this year. We've tried to relaunch it, and then life gets in the way. But we're going to try our best to add more stuff in the new year, and keep it interesting so you guys want to keep coming back and hanging out with us on videos like this and podcasts and all that sort of stuff. So we do appreciate you throughout the year, and looking forward to 2017. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.